National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Stefan Dialwis.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifah Tahir, and first off, we take a look at the headlines. The President says that the international community assures that Sri Lanka has re-entered the way of Renaissance. An agreement will be signed with a Chinese company over retail sale of fuel. The first group of Sri Lankan evacuated from Sudan has safely arrived in Saudi Arabia. 7 senior DIGs have been transferred. 2 of them says that transfers are illegal. Dengue cases in the Western Province increase. A dengue control week is effective from today. ISIS terrorist leader in Afghanistan was assassinated. We move on to those and other stories in detail now. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the international community is of the opinion that the lost Sri Lanka has regained the avenue of revitalization.
Opening the Parliament debate over the IMF agreements today, the President said that he is ready to economically empower the country. He also invites all parties to join hands with him in this endeavour. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that he liked to address the concerns that have been raised in the media about the economic and financial issues faced by the country. In July 2022, Sri Lanka was hit with riots, arson and state bankruptcy, causing a complete loss of trust. However, after 8 months, the government has managed to turn things around and it's now being called the Sri Lanka comeback story. It has entered the path of renaissance. The President is counting on the support of the whole country to take it forward. In this challenging backdrop, he had decided to assume the presidency in July 2022 because he believed that the country could recover. If he had not taken responsibility during a time of agitations and protests, the country would have been completely destroyed. As soon as he took over the government, he began negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. As a result, in September, Sri Lanka reached an agreement with the International Monetary Fund regarding extended credit facilities. This agreement will enable us to receive approximately $3 billion from the International Monetary Fund over the next 4 years, with the potential to obtain about $7 billion from other institutions. This money is crucial for the country. Additionally, it has regained the trust of foreign banks and financial institutions, with economic stability already being established in the country. Social Security is receiving more funding and investors are showing a keen interest in Sri Lanka. We have entered into agreements with the International Monetary Fund 16 times in the past, but the country has not fully implemented them. On the 17th occasion when we achieve stability, we must address our long-term weaknesses and move forward with a new program. One of the points to address is debt restructuring talks with our bilateral countries and private creditors. We want to restructure these loans, as failure to do so will result in a loss of liquidity. In order for the government to move forward, the restructuring must be done in rupees or dollars. The government wants to obtain funds for this service, therefore we must first negotiate with foreign creditors. We hope to initiate these discussions soon, with domestic debt restructuring also being considered. A final decision has not yet been made, but it is important to discuss the issue. Negotiations cannot be held with terms and conditions already in place. It is easier for us to join negotiations without conditions. Every aspect must be given special attention to ensure that no one is harmed in the process. Some banks may express their inability to cope with the program, but it is important for them to accept it in order to move the economy forward. There are concerns that the stock market may collapse and some may not be able to offer different conditions. However, decisions will be made in Parliament and appropriate measures will be taken to ensure that no harm is done to anyone, such as the members of the Employees Provident Fund. The government has initiated necessary programs to support the poor and the World Bank has provided funding for this. We are currently implementing a program to give aid to those who truly deserve it and remove those who do not. Our aim is to create financial stability and protect the low-income people. In addition, various restrictions have been imposed for 25 to 30 years, depending on the preferences of each ministry. People should look at the economy and decide which limits will be retained and which will be lifted. A highly competitive social fair market system is required. We have no other option but the IMF agreement. There have not been alternative suggestions. If there is no other alternative, let's approve this. He also urges the opposition to work together. Let's get both parties together and pass this. Representatives of the International Monetary Fund visit our country every 6 months. Therefore, if there are any shortcomings, trade unions have highlighted concerns about taxation. All of these people will discuss and come up with a solution, and then we will all join together and develop a single national policy framework. What is the country's national policy framework till 2048? There are policies and initiatives in place for the first 5 years. Let's discuss them. There is a National Assembly. In particular, there are other committees. Let's make the entire parliament a government to implement this program. Let's get together for this. There may be differing viewpoints. However, everyone must back this initiative. Now we have to build the country for 2048. If we do not accomplish this, we would be betraying the country's youth. Their future has been destroyed. Think about the youth of the country. Don't just think about grabbing power only. If this program is not done, none of us will be able to survive in another 2 or 3 years. So I urge everyone to come together to approve this. After that, we will come together and prepare the set of policies required until 2048. I also urge you to provide support to implement the program during the next 5 years.
Government and opposition parliamentarians expressed their views over the agreements made with the International Monetary Fund. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that what the president said is correct. We all suggested at the beginning to consult the IMF when the president was in the side. He pointed out his finger to Basil Rajapaksa and asked him to table the talks held with the IMF. We agreed to that proposal, who said that the consulting the IMF is not positive.
මේ පැත්තේ ඉන්නකොට බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ ඇඟිල්ල දික් කරලා කිව්වා IMF එකත් එක්ක කරන කතා ටික සභාගත කරන්න කියලා. එතුමයි කිව්වේ. අපි එකගයි. අපි කිව්වා වේලාසනීම IMF එකට යන්න. එතුමා පවා. එතුමාගේ පක්ෂයේ පවා. ඒ වගේම රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා.
Minister Nimal Siripala De Silva said that the opposition leader said that he and his party also agreeable with the IMF. Therefore, he must be happy that Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president is taking actions to implement the program that was proposed by the opposition leader.
මොකද ඒ අවස්ථාවේ එතුමාට තිබුණා මේ නායකත්වයට නමුත් එතුමා ඒකට පයින් ගැහුවනේ එතුමාට මේක ලබා ගන්න ශක්තියක් තිබුණේ නැහනේ ඒ නිසා ඒ ශක්තිය තියෙන එක්කෙනාට අපි උදව්වක් දීලා මේ රට ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාම සඳහා මේ ක්‍රියාවලියට අපි සියලු දෙනා ඇරවීමේ වගකීම මුදල්ලා මහත්තයා
Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the responsibility of turning back all these ERS should be taken by the former Secretary of the Finance Ministry, P.B. Jayasundara. He is the one who had misled many leaders of the country. Whenever a leader attempts to carry out a positive proposal in the country, Mr. Jayasundara discouraged them. Therefore, he is a major respondent for all these problems.
A delegation representing the Sinopec company in China has arrived in Sri Lanka to sign agreements regarding the retail sale of fuel and to start operations in this connection. The agreements are expected to be signed by mid next month. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Vijayasekara has tweeted that the operations may commence in 45 days upon the signing of agreements. Meanwhile, Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara headed a meeting to enlighten all Deputy General Managers of the Electricity Board regarding the restructuring process and the time frame of restructuring the Ceylon Electricity Board. They presented their views with regard to the proposed process. The restructuring committee focused special attention over their views and proposals. The committee also allowed them to submit more proposals, if any, in the future.
A delegation representing the Sinopec company in China has arrived in Sri Lanka to sign agreements regarding the retail sale of fuel and to start operations in this connection. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that a group of Sri Lankans who were trapped in the fights in Sudan has been evacuated and safely brought to capital Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Issuing a Twitter message, Minister Ali Sabri has expressed gratitude to Saudi government for the support extended. 13 Sri Lankans are included in the first batch. Acting Consular General of Sri Lanka in Saudi Arabia accepted them. They will be brought to Sri Lanka later. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has thanked the Saudi government for the support extended at this crucial moment. Many have died due to the clashes between Sudan government army and the rebel groups. Britain, USA and many other countries have already taken measures to evacuate their diplomats and civilians from Sudan. A severe human tragedy is taking place in Sudan at present. It is a considerable achievement for Sri Lanka to have a group of Sri Lankans to be evacuated from the conflict zone. 7 senior DIGs have been transferred with immediate effect by the IGP.
The police headquarters say that these transfers have been done subjected to the covering approval of the National Police Commission and with the approval of Secretary to the Ministry of Public Security on the service requirement. Meanwhile, 2 transferred DIGs have sent letters to the Ministry and the Police Commission saying that their transfers are illegal. Senior DIG Lalit Patinayaka has been transferred to the Central Province. DIG Priyantha Veerasurya of the Central Province, Senior DIG Kitsiri Jailath of the Eastern Province. In charge of the Southern Province, DIG Ajith Rohana, Ranmal Kodithuaku and Kamal Silva are among the transferred officers. In response to the transfers, Senior DIG of the Southern Province, Ajith Rohana, sending a letter to the Secretary of the Ministry of Public Security, says that the transfer order is a violation of law. He stated that Secretary of the Ministry of Public Security has no power to approve transfers of DIGs. He points out that if the Police Commission has not approved these transfers, this order is detrimental to the law. Senior DIG Ajith Rohana therefore says that he is not bound to institute such a transfer order. In his letter to the Police Commission, Senior DIG Ajith Rohana further says that he was summoned to the ministerial office and the minister had said that crimes in the Southern Province is out of control under his administration. In response to that, Senior DIG Ajith Rohana had requested the members of the Police Commission to look into the control of crimes in the Southern Province under his purview. He complains that ministers' attempt is to favour and safeguard a certain senior DIG. In addition, Senior DIG Priyantha Veerasurya has also expressed his protest to the Police Commission with regard to his transfer. In his letter to the Police Commission, he had said that he had to face several transfers within a very short period. Such instant transfers may deter due to planning and strategies arranged to keep law and order. He also pointed out that such transfers are discouraging the senior officers to carry out their duty free and fair manner. President's Director General on Trade Union Saman Ratnapriya says that he has made a positive mediation to get a discussion with the President as requested by the university teachers.
The request to university teachers to come forward to achieve their duties, shedding out their terms and conditions. The trade union action to boycott evaluating advanced level answer scripts was suspended by the university teachers yesterday. Media spokesman of the Federation of University Teachers Association, Senior Lecturer Charudatta Ilangasinghe, said that they have informed the President that they need a discussion in this connection. The university teachers hopes to have a discussion with the President without delay. Relevant letters in this regard has already been sent to the President.
A special discussion was held today over the progress of construction at the flyover bridges constructed in Kohvela and Gatambe Junction in Kandy under the funds of Hungarian government. The discussion was held at the Ministry of Transport between Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena and Hungarian government representatives. Hungarian government has granted a sum of €52 million for the 2 bridges. The 2 parties expressed views regarding the completion of constructions accordingly. Priority will be given to complete the construction of Kohvela flyover bridge without delay. The Hungarian delegation also agreed to expedite the construction of the Gatambe flyover.
Nearly 28,500 dengue cases have been reported in the country so far this year. It is a considerable increase compared to the same period last year. Majority of cases have been reported from the Western province. Out of the entire dengue cases, 49% or 13,627 cases are reported from the Western province. Gampha district is the most vulnerable for the disease. Considering the situation, a special dengue control week was declared today in the province. The opening program was initiated at the Kaduala Divisional Secretariat today. The health authorities point out that dengue mosquitoes are rampant in the morning and evening. Therefore, school students are more vulnerable to the disease. School children and elderly people over 65 years have been identified as vulnerable groups.
The 8-story outpatient building project of the Colombo National Hospital, built with Chinese assistance, was officially handed over to Sri Lanka on Tuesday. The building was officially handed over to Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwella by Chinese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Ji Zhenhong, during a ceremony held yesterday. The Chinese Ambassador and Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwella, representing the two sides, officially signed the handover documents and other documents related to the medicines and medical equipment to be provided by China during the course of this year. The project, constructed at a cost of 80 million USD, and with a construction area of about 50,000 square meters, would bring the hospital's daily handling capacity to 6,000 patients and greatly help alleviate local medical resource constraints. Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwella said that the outpatient building is a considerable and rarely needed project for the country's health sector.
Prioritize health sector in the bilateral development partnership between China and Sri Lanka. In addition to medical supplies and vaccines provided during pandemic, in order to address the shortage of medicine, the Chinese government announced emergency humanitarian assistance. The Chinese side has already fulfilled the responsibilities on this grand project according to the agreement signed by the two governments. This beautiful 8-story OPT building here will allow access of 6,000 patients to health service daily.
As we know, this is not the first time that we have received something considerable, something that is really needed for our health sector. Starting from the rubberized pact that we had years back, the assistance were continuous with no intentions of any return. But this happens to be the largest single ever grant that's given by the government of China. And it happens to be to the health sector. As the minister right now standing before you, I take pride in receiving it and getting it to an operational level. And I'm sure the director and the rest of you all will make the maximum use of it. And the people of Sri Lanka, citizens of Sri Lanka, will benefit immensely.
JICA has granted a sum of 1.3 billion rupees to Sri Lanka for the upgraded medical or clinical disposal management project. The relevant agreement was signed by the Japanese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Mr. Koshi Hideaki, and Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Mahinda Siriwardana. We'll be back with more local stories after a short break.
தொலைவிருந்து பார்த்திட பேரன்பை உணர்ந்திட சீக்கிரமாய் அனுப்பிட உடனடியை பெற்றிட களைப்பு தலை நீக்கிட எங்கள் வாழ்வில் உயர்ந்திட நாடும் சேர்ந்து உயர்ந்திட ஹோ
அவசியமான வேளையில் கிடைக்கும் பணம் அன்பினால் நிறைந்தது. இங்கிருக்கும் அன்புக்குரியவர்களுக்கு வெளிநாட்டில் இருந்து பணம் அனுப்பும் இலகுவான சிறந்த வழி சம்பத் இ-ரெமிட்டன்ஸ்.
Welcome back, and we move on to more local stories. A discussion regarding the earthquakes and tremors occurred around the island was held at the Department of Government Information today.
At this discussion, experts in the geological sector stated that after effects of tremors can be obtained as the local and international geological and research institutes are interrelated at present. Director General of the Meteorology Department Atula Karunanayaka said that we have to enlighten the public on any case of earthquakes or tsunami effects that occur in the sea areas around the country. International centres located in Australia, Indonesia and India will soon inform the Met Department with regard to such warnings.
The Eastern Provincial Council has started a number of special projects to empower the Dhamma schools and all preschools in the province. Governor Anuradha Yahampath has ordered the officials to take necessary measures and arrange the plans to develop them to suit the current needs. A special meeting in this connection was held today at the Assistant Local Government Commissioner's office in Nampara under the patronage of Eastern Provincial Governor Anuradha Yahampath.
Brick manufacturers in the Manampitya area are facing immense difficulties as their industry has declined at present. They stress that relevant authorities should focus attention to solve their problems. About 100 families in the Magamthata area in Manampitya earn their living through the brick industry. The drop of price, the shortage of raw materials and increase of transport charges are the major problems affecting them. It's time for a foreign break and we'll be back with international news.
கணக்கில் அதிர்ஷ்டம் பெறும் எமது வீரனே நாடு விட்டு நாடு சென்று வென்ற தோழனே பீப்பிள்ஸ் ரெமிட்டன்ஸ் மூலம் வென்ற சூரனே உழைப்பினாலே கடமை செய்த பொறுப்பாளனே கோடி அதிர்ஷ்டம் அல்ல முன்கூட்டிய வாழ்க்கையை வெல்ல பீப்பிள்ஸ் ரெமிட்டன்ஸ் வரமே கோடி அதிர்ஷ்டம் தருமே
வாராந்தம் 1 லட்சம் ரூபாய் மாதாந்தம் 1 மில்லியன் ரூபாய் ஆண்டுறுதியில் மாபெரும் சீட்டிழுப்பில் 1 கோடி ரூபாய் உட்பட மேலும் பணப்பரிசுகளை வெல்லுங்கள். பீப்பிள்ஸ் ரெமிட்டன்ஸ் கோடி அதிர்ஷ்டம் நேரடியாக அனுப்புங்கள் பெரும் வெற்றி காணுங்கள்.
Welcome back, and we move on to news overseas now. United States officials says that the Islamic State group mastermind thought to have planned the devastating 2021 bombing at Kabul airport has been killed by Afghanistan's ruling Taliban.
The bombing that August killed 170 civilians and 13 US soldiers as people were trying to flee the country as the Taliban took control. The ISIS figure was killed weeks ago, but it took time to confirm his death. His name has not been released. US officials said they had determined through intelligence gathering and monitoring of the region that the leader had died, though they did not provide further details on how they had learned that he was responsible for the bombing. According to a report in the New York Times, the US learned of the leader's death in early April. It is unclear whether he was targeted by the Taliban or if he was killed during ongoing fighting between Islamic State and the Taliban, the newspaper reported. On Monday, the US began notifying families of the soldiers killed about the death of the Islamic State leader. The blast came hours after Western governments warned their citizens to stay away from Kabul International Airport because of an imminent threat of an attack by Islamic State terrorists, the Afghanistan branch of the Islamic State group. It happened on 26th of August 2021 at the Abbey Gate to the airport when a suicide bomber walked into the middle of families waiting outside the gate. Huge crowds had been gathering in the area hoping to be accepted onto an evacuation flight.
British singer Ed Sheeran has appeared in a New York City court to deny that his song Thinking Out Loud copied Marvin Gaye's song Let's Get It On. Heirs of Gaye's co-writer Ed Townsend argued that Sheeran, Warner Music Group and Sony Music Publishing owed them money for allegedly stealing the song. As the case opened, a lawyer called Sheeran's use of Gaye's lyrics at his concert a smoking gun. The Grammy winner, 32, testified that he did not copy from Gaye's 1973 hit. Asked by lawyer Keisha Rice about another song he wrote, Take It Back, which contains the lyrics plagiarism is hidden, Sheeran confirmed that he had written the words. Those are my lyrics, yep, he said, adding, can I give some context to them? She said that if she wanted any context, she would ask for it. I went on to ask him about concert footage recorded in Zurich showing him mixing lyrics from Gaye's song with Thinking Out Loud.
Cut to me, Fantamai!
Today is the third day of the second test against Ireland played in Gaul. Sri Lanka were 357 runs for the loss of 1 wicket in the first innings.
The opening pair recorded centuries today. Skipper Dimuth Karunaratne recorded his 16th century in Test match cricket. He and opener Nishan Madhushka broke the record of the opening partnership set by Sanath Jayasuriya and Mavanatapattu in Gaul. Nishan Madhushka recorded his first Test century and has scored 149 not out at the end of the day. Kusal Mendis 83 not out.
Prima, cut to me, Fantamai!
That's it for the news this evening. Have a good night.
Good night.